Hey everybody, Mills RX here. Welcome to the training room. In this episode, we're going to talk about Mark Andrews. Now, we suffered a lot of injuries in the Thursday night game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Mark Andrews suffered another injury to the two he had already come into the game with. So, we're going to take a bit of a deep dive into it and see exactly what he's dealing with and how long he may be out. So we're just going to switch over here and we're going to go from the beginning and let me get my laser pointer. There's my laser pointer. There we go. All right. See, all right. We're in the training room and we're going to be talking about Mark Andrews. But first, let's talk about a few injury updates. These are some of the other injuries that we suffered during the game. Uh, Gus Edwards, he is dealing with a right hamstring strain. From what we know so far, it's a grade 1, so it's a 1 to 2 week recovery timeline. Same exact thing is what Justice Hill is came back from. So 1 to 2 weeks. Um, he should be back after the bye. Rashad Bateman, he re-injured that nagging left midfoot sprain. Yes, he did re-injure his Liz Frank ligament, which is not good. We don't know the timeline of his recovery. He may be back after the bye. Not exactly sure, but I don't expect him to play in the Saints game. Marlon Humphreys had been dealing with hamstring tightness since the Browns game, and he felt a little tightness and tenderness before the second half, which is why he was on the sidelines doing some sprints, trying to stretch it out, work it out. He even went to the trainers, and as you saw, he did start the second half and play the rest of the game. But he restrained his hamstring. He's day to day, but I expect him to play against the Saints. And of course, we our young safety Kyle Hamilton had an ankle injury because Chuck Clark went to break up a pass in the end zone, and he ended up rolling up on Kyle Hamilton's ankle, and it is a mild ankle bruise. He is day to day. I also expect him to play against the Saints. But let's talk about Mark Andrews. Now, he is our tight end one, he is our leading receiver, and he's just had a bevy of injuries this season. He came into the one dealing with some nagging knee soreness. Then just last week he picked up an ankle bruise, and then during this game he had a shoulder sprain. That's his new injury right there, shoulder sprain, which was reported by Ian Rappaport and also confirmed by Jameson Hensley in his piece for ESPN. And it's just, and as you see, he's just really banged up. In all honesty, he probably shouldn't have played, but he's a competitor. He wants to play through it. But I really advise that he doesn't play through an injury like this, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so when someone says they have a shoulder sprain, that that's just once again that's a generalized term that you have hurt, or you have maybe even um, you have some tearing in the ligaments right here in your shoulder joint. The unofficial diagnosis is a left shoulder sprain. Now, the actual medical designation would be called a type 1 left acromyoclavicular or AC joint sprain. I know you've heard that term a lot, AC joint, and that's the full name of it. This is just the full name of your shoulder joint, the acromyoclavicular joint, and the recovery timeline of a type 1 is 1 to 3 weeks. Now, we look at this word acromyoclavicular. It's really just a combination of two major parts of your shoulder joint. The acromion, which is right here, this pointed section right here, which is makes it the acromyo, and then of course your clavicle, this long bone right here that is your collarbone. These two make up the main part of your shoulder. This is said, and just well, walk right through. This is your coracoid process that helps hold this ligament, that helps hold the coral-acroclavicular ligaments in place. You have the first rib right here. You have your humerus, which is your arm bone. This is your humeral head, and this is known as the glenoid capsule. Now, your arm, your shoulder joint, apologies, just like your hip joint is known as a ball and socket joint. As you can see, the glenoid right here, is a socket, and this looks like a ball, so it's rounded. So it fits into here relatively comfortably. Now, when someone says they have an AC joint sprain, it's usually damage to this ligament right here, the acromyoclavicular ligament that's between the acromion and the clavicle. Now, type 1 would mean it's either overstretched or there's some micro tearing in it. Now, what I believe happened, and when you saw, and I don't know if you saw or if we all saw the video, he went down, he caught the ball, and he went to break his fall with his left arm, and then he went down pretty awkwardly on it, and I would say there would like this probably had some tearing in it, causing a bit of a separation between the acromion and the clavicle. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. When he went to the locker room and probably had some imaging done. Okay, this is what AC joint injuries X-rays look like. So once again, this is your clavicle, the long bone, your acromion, the pointed one. Your AC ligament would fit right between these two. Your here's your coracoid process that holds the other ligaments in place. And I mentioned it before. This is your glenoid capsule, which is the socket, and this is your humeral head. This is your arm bone, your humerus. This is the humeral head. Looks like a ball. Fits right here. Now, when someone has an AC joint injury, as you can see right here in the red, the acromyoclavicular distance, that's about normal. And this is the visual distance between the two. See how it's straight up, and there's not that much separation between the clavicle and the acromion because the ligament that sits right here holds it intact, and this is what holds. This is where the clavicle meets the shoulder. This is your shoulder right here. This whole joint. This is where the clavicle meets it. Now, this is your normal one right here. Now, if you look over here, this one is actually a bit worse. This is a type 3 AC joint injury, and there's a big space, as you can see, between the clavicle and the acromion. This is almost a shoulder separation. That's how bad this is. And as you can see, there's a huge space as compared to this one. Very, very compact, very tight. There's a huge space right here because the ligament right in between here is completely severed. That's a completely severed, and that shoulder is complete. Is completely dislocated, and this person, if this was a player, this player would be out for the remainder of the season. As you remember, Aaron Rodgers he actually fractured his clavicle, but he also had a bad shoulder separation like this too. This is also what Matt Ryan has. He has a type 2 shoulder separation, which is a little bit less worse than this, but this is kind of like what of the medical staff saw when they saw his shoulder. And this is what thank goodness that our staff is not looking at. But yeah, just like if a little like a type 1 would actually there'd be a little bit of distance between that. So this one actually might be a type 1. This actually is a type 1 AC injury. So yeah, there's a little bit of distance between the two, but it's nothing like this, and thank goodness for that. So there's a chance that Mark Andrews could be back for after the bye, and with some rest and maybe some PT, he should be able to return. So, yep, that is what he's dealing with, and hopefully we can get him back. Hopefully we can get him back after the bye, but I don't expect him to play against the Saints. At least he better not play against the Saints. But yep, once again, that's what he is dealing with, and it's not all looking good right now, but hopefully we can get it back healthy. Once again, this is Mills RX. Thank you for visiting in the training room. If you like this content, leave me a like. Send me your questions, your comments. I will get to them and answer them when I can. And thank you so much for watching. And you have a nice day. Go Ravens.